At the Christmas gala, Evelyn Monroe sat beside an empty chair, smiling while her marriage died in silence. Her husband said he was working late. But one location alert told the truth: he was across Chicago inside another woman's apartment. And across the ballroom, Roman Blackwell, the most feared man in the city, saw the exact moment her heart broke. Maybe you know that kind of pain. Sitting in a crowded room pretending you're fine while someone you love makes you feel invisible. But this story is not just about betrayal. It's about power, dignity, revenge, and the dangerous kind of love that appears when a woman finally stops begging to be chosen. The cold air outside the law office hit Evelyn clean across the face, sharp enough to make her eyes water, but she did not look away from the street. Chicago moved around her like nothing had happened. Taxis hissed over wet pavement. A man in a wool coat argued into his phone beside the curb. Steam rose from a street grate and vanished into the pale morning. Somewhere behind those courthouse windows, other people were also ending lives they had once sworn to keep. Roman opened the car door, but Evelyn did not move at first. Her phone was still in her hand. Grant's message sat on the screen. "You have no idea what you just started." She read it again, not because she needed to, but because some part of her wanted to feel the full shape of it. There was no apology now. No sweetheart. No soft voice pretending he was confused. Just a threat wearing a sentence. Roman looked down at the screen. "Save it," he said. "I know." But her thumb trembled before she took the screenshot. Roman noticed. He always noticed. He did not comment. That restraint was becoming dangerous. Grant had filled every silence with himself. Roman let silence breathe, and in that space Evelyn kept finding pieces of her own voice. She slid into the car. Roman closed the door and walked around to the driver's side. For a while, neither of them spoke. The city passed in gray glass and stone holiday wreaths hanging from office towers, red bows tied to street lamps, shoppers moving under umbrellas as if December had not turned cruel overnight. Evelyn watched the people on the sidewalks and wondered how many of them were carrying private disasters under polished coats. Roman pulled into traffic. "Maggie will file by Friday," he said. Evelyn nodded. The word divorce had become real in the lawyer's office. Not emotional real, legal real, paper real, court real. Her marriage had gone from a wound to a case number waiting to be assigned. "Do you think he will calm down?" she asked. Roman's mouth tightened. "No." She looked at him. No hesitation. Men like Grant do not calm down when they lose control. They change tactics. That sounds like experience. It is. His answer was flat enough to warn her not to ask, but she was tired of living beside closed doors. From business, Roman's eyes stayed on the road. From families, something in the way he said families made the word feel heavier than blood. Evelyn let it rest. At Blackwell Holdings, Roman pulled into the private garage. The elevator ride up to the executive floor was quiet. Evelyn could feel the shift before the doors opened. Work waited. Emails, calendars, deadlines. The version of herself that knew how to make decisions without breaking. She stepped out first. Her desk looked exactly as she had left it. Neat files, monitor asleep. A silver pen aligned with the edge of her notepad. She had always liked order because it gave her the illusion that chaos could be managed if placed correctly. She took off her coat. Roman paused outside his office. "Take the afternoon?" "No." His eyes narrowed slightly. That was not a suggestion. "Then make it one." The word surprised her. Roman almost smiled. "You just retained a divorce attorney and received a threat from your husband. I also have an investor call to prepare a communications brief to review, and your 3 o'clock meeting has the wrong financial packet attached. The company can function without you for one afternoon." "Yes," she said. "But I need to remember I can still function too." Roman studied her for a long moment. Then he gave a single nod. "Fine. But you eat lunch. Are you always this controlling? When people are stubborn enough to confuse starvation with discipline?" Yes. This time Evelyn did smile. It faded when her desk phone rang. She answered with the voice that had survived board members' hostile vendors and Grant Monroe's mother. Evelyn Monroe. The receptionist downstairs spoke carefully. "Mrs. Monroe, there is a woman here asking for you. Claire Whitaker." The floor seemed to drop an inch beneath Evelyn's chair. Her fingers tightened around the receiver. "What did she say she wants?" "She says it is personal. She is being polite, but insistent." Evelyn closed her eyes. Of course. Grant had been caught, and now the woman in the apartment had decided she deserved a place in the conversation. Roman appeared in his doorway before Evelyn spoke. He read her face the way he read contracts, quickly and without mercy. She covered the receiver. "Claire is downstairs." His expression went cold. "I will have security remove her." "No." "Evelyn." "No," she repeated, standing. "I need to do this. You owe her nothing." "I know." The receptionist waited on the line. Evelyn lifted the receiver again. "Tell her I am coming down. Do not send her up." "Yes, Mrs. Monroe." She hung up and reached for her suit jacket. Roman stepped closer. "I am coming with you. You do not have to." "I know." It was the same answer he always gave when he meant he had already decided. They rode the elevator down side by side. Evelyn watched the numbers descend. 42, 37, 31, 26. Every floor felt like another breath she had to earn. Roman did not touch her. Still, his presence stood beside her like a wall. When the doors opened, the lobby spread out in polished marble and glass. A large Christmas arrangement sat near the front desk, white branches and red berries arranged in a silver urn. The security guard turned when he saw Roman and straightened without meaning to. Claire Whitaker stood near the seating area. She was younger than Evelyn had expected, though perhaps that was unfair. 27, maybe 28. Soft brown hair pulled into a careful twist. Camel coat, cream sweater. Expensive boots that still had salt stains near the soles from the street outside. She held a leather handbag in both hands, fingers pressed white around the handles. She looked nervous. Evelyn hated that. It was easier to face a monster than a woman who looked frightened. Claire turned. "Evelyn." The use of her name struck wrong. "Mrs. Monroe," Evelyn said. Claire flushed. "Yes. Sorry." "Mrs. Monroe." Roman stopped a few steps behind Evelyn, close enough to be seen, far enough to let the moment belong to her. Claire glanced at him. Everyone glanced at Roman. "I wanted to talk," Claire said. Evelyn kept her voice level. "This is my workplace." "I know. I am sorry. I tried to reach Grant and he said you would not speak to him, and I thought maybe if I explained. If Grant told you coming here was wise, you should start questioning his advice." Claire's face tightened. "I did not come to fight." "Then why did you come?" The lobby sounds seemed to soften around them. Phones rang at the reception desk. Elevator doors opened. Somewhere a man laughed and then stopped when he saw Roman. Claire swallowed. "I am pregnant." The words landed hard, not loud, not dramatic, just heavy enough to change the air. Evelyn felt them enter her body before her mind could arrange them. Pregnant. Grant and Claire. A child. A future he had not discussed with his wife because he had already begun building it elsewhere. Her hand wanted to go to her stomach for reasons she did not understand. She held still instead. Roman shifted behind her. Barely. Evelyn heard the leather of his glove tighten in his fist. She looked at Claire. Congratulations. Claire blinked. That is all you have to say. That is more than I owe you. Claire's eyes grew shiny, but her chin lifted. You do not understand. This changes things. Yes, for you and Grant. He is still married to you. He should have considered that before he made you pregnant. Claire flinched, then recovered. You think I planned this? I do not know what you planned. I love him. The sentence came out fast, too fast, like a shield she had practiced holding up. Evelyn looked at her carefully. Does he know that Claire's mouth opened? No sound came. There it was, a crack. Evelyn felt no satisfaction from seeing it, only exhaustion. Claire lowered her voice. He said the marriage was over. Evelyn almost laughed, but there was nothing funny left. When Claire looked away. Months ago. And yet he was still living in my house, sleeping in my bed when he remembered to come home, letting me attend company events as his wife. Claire's face paled. He said he was trying to end it gently. Evelyn stepped closer. Of course he did. Men like Grant never abandon one woman without first convincing the next one she is rescue, not wreckage. Claire's eyes flashed. You do not know what we have. I know what you got. A man who lies to the woman he promised forever and calls it confusion. Claire's mouth trembled, but anger pushed through. If you drag this through court, it will hurt everyone. There it is. What? The reason you came. Evelyn's voice cooled. You did not come to apologize. You came to ask me to make the divorce easy so your life can begin without inconvenience. Claire gripped her bag tighter. I came because there is a baby. There was a wife. Silence. The words moved through the lobby like a blade. Claire looked down first. For a second, Evelyn saw what Grant must have liked in her. Not just youth, not just prettiness. Claire had the fragile certainty of someone who believed love made her innocent. Maybe she had been lied to. Maybe she had chosen not to look too closely. Both could be true. Evelyn softened only enough to keep her voice from becoming cruel. Listen to me carefully. I am divorcing Grant. I am not fighting for him. You can have whatever version of him he gives you. But I will not surrender my home, my money, or my dignity because his affair became complicated. Claire wiped quickly under one eye. He said you would try to punish him. Evelyn held her gaze. No, I am going to stop protecting him. Behind Claire, the revolving doors turned, letting in a gust of cold air and two men in dark coats. They slowed when they saw Roman, then moved quickly toward the elevators. Claire noticed. Her eyes went back to Roman again. Is he... why you are doing this? Evelyn's face went still. Be careful. I just mean Grant thinks there is something between you. Roman's voice cut in quiet and lethal. Grant thinks many things when cornered. Very few survive contact with evidence. Claire went pale. Roman took one step forward, his expression calm enough to be terrifying. You came to Mrs. Monroe's workplace uninvited. You delivered your message. Now leave. Claire looked back at Evelyn. For what it is worth, I am sorry. Evelyn looked at the woman carrying her husband's child. I believe you are sorry it hurts. I do not know if you are sorry you did it. Claire's face crumpled for half a second. Then she turned and walked out through the revolving doors into the snow. Evelyn stood very still until Claire disappeared into the city. Only then did her breath shake. Roman moved beside her. Well handled. I almost lost it. You did not. I wanted to say worse. I know. She looked at him. How? His mouth curved without warmth. Because I was thinking worse. That startled a laugh from her, small and broken. It almost helped. Then her phone buzzed. Maggie Sloan. Evelyn answered. Maggie. I just got a settlement proposal from Grant's attorney. Evelyn looked at Roman. That was fast. Fear moves quickly when dressed as strategy, Maggie said. He is offering a 50-50 split of the house and accounts no support. Each side pays their own fees. Evelyn blinked. He cheated for almost a year and got another woman pregnant, and he wants half like we are shaking hands after a business lunch. Actually, his first message was more aggressive. I suspect his lawyer cleaned it up before sending. What do you recommend? I recommend we request full financial discovery and counter with reimbursement for marital funds spent on the affair, temporary support, legal fees, and a larger share of the house proceeds. Evelyn closed her eyes. The house. The tree. The wedding photo. The marble kitchen. All of it suddenly sounded like evidence instead of home. Do it. Maggie paused. You are sure? Evelyn looked through the glass doors where Claire had vanished. I am sure. Good. Also, be ready. The pregnancy may make him desperate to keep cash liquid. Desperate men improvise badly. When Evelyn hung up, Roman was watching her. What did Sloane say? That Grant wants half and peace. Roman's eyes hardened. He wants reward and silence. Yes. Will you give him either no? The answer came before fear could edit it. Roman nodded once, satisfied. They returned upstairs. The office had changed while they were gone, or perhaps Evelyn had. The lights felt brighter, the whispered conversations quieter when she passed. By noon, she was sure people had heard something. Claire in the lobby, Roman coming down, Evelyn returning with her face pale and mouth set. Gossip had its own circulatory system. She sat at her desk and opened the investor notes, willing herself into numbers. At 2:20, Grant called. She let it ring. At 2:24, he texted. You had no right to ambush Claire. Evelyn stared at the message. Then another arrived. She is pregnant. You need to stop making this about yourself. For one moment, heat flooded her chest so violently she could hardly see. Roman stepped out of his office. Evelyn. She looked up. He saw the phone. Do not answer. I know. Her voice did not sound like hers. Grant sent another message. If you force this into court, I will tell people the truth about you and Blackwell. Evelyn took a screenshot, then another. Then she forwarded them to Maggie. A minute later, Maggie replied, Perfect. Let him keep typing. Evelyn almost smiled. At 4 o'clock, the storm reached the building, not the weather. Grant. The receptionist called, first voice strained. Mrs. Monroe, Mr. Grant Monroe is in the lobby. Security is with him, but he is demanding to see you. Evelyn stood. Roman was already at his door. Stay here, he said. No. His eyes sharpened. Evelyn, I am not hiding from him. Roman's jaw worked once. Then I am beside you. They took the elevator down again. This time, Evelyn's fear had edges. Grant was pacing near the security desk, divorce papers crushed in one fist. His hair was wild, his coat unbuttoned, his face flushed with the kind of rage that came from embarrassment more than grief. When the elevator opened, he turned. There you are. Evelyn stepped into the lobby. Grant, leave. He laughed. Is that how this works now? You send your lawyer after me, terrorize Claire, and then hide behind your gangster boss. Roman's expression did not change, but the security guard moved closer. Evelyn kept her voice even. You are causing a scene. Good. Maybe people should see what you are, and what am I? Grant's eyes flicked to Roman, then back to her. A liar. The word did not wound her the way he hoped. It sounded too much like confession. Grant raised the papers. You filed like I abused you. Like I abandoned you. Like you are some victim. You did abandon me. I made a mistake. You maintained a second relationship for almost a year. His nostrils flared. You were not exactly lonely, were you? The lobby went still. Evelyn felt Roman's attention sharpen behind her. Grant saw it and smiled ugly now. Oh, come on. Everyone sees it. The late nights, the private lunches, him taking you to lawyers. You expect me to believe nothing happened? Roman spoke softly. I suggest you stop. Grant turned on him. Or what? You will make me disappear. That is what men like you do, right? The security guard shifted again. Roman took one step forward. One more accusation in my building, and I will have you removed. Grant's laugh cracked. Your building, your employee, your little rescue project. Evelyn stepped between them before Roman could move closer. Grant. He looked at her. For the first time, she saw desperation under the rage. You do not get to do this, he said. You do not get to walk away and take everything. I am taking what the law says is mine. I earned that house. We both paid for that house. You played assistant while I built a career. Roman's voice dropped behind her. Careful. Evelyn lifted a hand without looking back. She did not need Roman to answer this. She stepped closer to Grant. I handled your life so you could build that career. I made the dinners, the calls, the apologies, the excuses. I remembered your mother's birthday when you forgot. I packed your suitcase for trials. I read your briefs at midnight because you wanted a second pair of eyes. Do not confuse a paycheck with contribution. Grant's face reddened. You think this new version of you scares me? No, Evelyn said. I think it scares you that I am not scared enough. Something in him snapped. This is not over. You want to destroy my name? I will destroy yours. Evelyn held his gaze. You already tried. You are not very good at it. Roman made a sound behind her that might have been amusement. Grant pointed at Roman. You think he will keep you? You think a man like that loves anything? Evelyn did not move. This conversation is over. Grant leaned closer, lowering his voice, but not enough. Claire is keeping the baby. We are getting married as soon as you stop dragging your feet. So congratulations, Evie, you got replaced. There it was, the knife he had been saving. For a heartbeat, the lobby blurred, not because she wanted him back, not because Claire had won, but because once years ago, Evelyn and Grant had whispered about children in this house with the marble kitchen. Someday, he had said, when life calms down, when the timing is right, the timing had been right, just not with her. She breathed once. Then she smiled, not with warmth, but with release. Then I hope she enjoys the version of you she won. Grant stared at her. The insult did not land because it was not an insult. It was a truth he could not argue with. Roman looked to security. Escort Mr. Monroe out. The guard stepped forward. Grant backed away on his own pride, forcing him to walk rather than be led. At the revolving doors, he turned. You will regret this. Evelyn tilted her head. You keep saying that like regret is fatal. Grant's face twisted. Then he left. The lobby exhaled. Evelyn became aware of faces turned away too late. The receptionist pretending to type. A junior associate frozen near the elevators. The security guard watching Roman for instruction. Roman spoke to the guard. Document the incident. Time. Words spoken. Save footage. Yes, Mr. Blackwell. In the elevator, Evelyn leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Her knees were shaking again. Roman stood opposite her. You held your own. I wanted to collapse. You waited until after. That counts. She opened her eyes. He is going to tell people. Yes. That I am sleeping with you. Yes. You seem calm about that. I have survived worse rumors. I have not. His expression softened. No, you have not. The elevator opened on the 42nd floor. Evelyn walked to her desk, sat down, and blocked Grant's number. Then she blocked Claire's. Then she opened her email and saw the subject line from Maggie. Forward any further communication directly to me. Evelyn leaned back in her chair. Her whole body ached. At 5:30, Roman appeared beside her desk with his coat over one arm. Enough. I have work. You have adrenaline poisoning. That is not a real condition. It should be. She looked up at him. A laugh threatened, then dissolved. I cannot go home. The admission came out before she could stop it. Roman's face changed. Not triumph, not satisfaction. Relief, perhaps, that she had said it before he had to. You do not have to. She stilled. What does that mean? He reached into his coat pocket and placed a key on her desk. I own a small building in Wicker Park. 3 units. 1 is empty, furnished, secure. No one has access but me and the property manager. You can stay there. Evelyn stared at the key. No. You can pay rent. No. I will have a lease drawn up tonight. Roman. Her voice broke on his name, and that made them both go still. She lowered it. You cannot keep doing this. Offering practical solutions. Making it impossible for me to know where the line is. Roman's gaze held hers. The line is wherever you place it. That sounds noble until people start talking. People are already talking. Grant will use it. Then we document it. Lease, rent, separate access. No secrets. She looked at the key again. It was ordinary brass, small, harmless. It should not have felt like a door in her chest opening. Why she whispered. Roman did not answer with charm. He never did when the truth mattered. Because men like Grant count on women staying where they can be reached. Evelyn looked away fast. The office had gone quiet around them. Most of the staff had left. Evening pressed against the windows, turning Chicago into a grid of lights below. She reached for the key. Her fingers closed around it. Roman watched the movement, but he did not smile. There is a car downstairs if you need to collect anything from the house. I will go alone. No. She looked up. His voice remained calm. Not tonight. I need to be able to do things alone. Yes. And tonight you need witnesses' receipts and someone who knows when a situation is unsafe. She wanted to argue. Then she remembered Grant's face in the lobby. You got replaced. You will regret this. She placed the key in her purse. Fine. The Wicker Park building sat on a quiet street lined with bare trees and old brick homes. Snow had gathered along the iron fence. A small courtyard waited behind a locked gate, its garden asleep under winter. Roman did not come upstairs. He handed her the lease envelope in the car, already signed on his side rent, listed clearly terms clean and formal. I will wait here, he said. Evelyn looked at him. You are not coming in, no. Why? Because it is yours. She held his gaze for a second too long. Then she got out. The apartment was on the 2nd floor. The hallway smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old wood. Evelyn unlocked the door and stepped inside. Warm light came on automatically. Hardwood floors, tall windows, a small kitchen with white cabinets, a navy sofa, a bed made with fresh sheets. Nothing extravagant, nothing staged, just quiet. Her footsteps sounded different here, not like trespassing in her own marriage, like arrival. She walked from room to room, touching nothing at first. The bathroom was clean, the closets empty, the windows locked. On the kitchen counter sat a folded note from the property manager with basic instructions and a list of emergency numbers. No flowers, no gifts, no romantic gesture. Just a place where Grant could not walk in and rewrite the air. Evelyn stood in the center of the living room. For the first time that day, her shoulders dropped. She took out her phone and texted Roman. I will take it. His reply came a moment later. Good. She stared at the single word. Then she set the phone on the counter, walked to the window, and looked down at the street. Roman's black car waited below engine running dark against the snow. He did not look up. He simply waited until he knew she was safe. Evelyn pressed her hand against the cold glass. Behind her, the apartment was silent. Ahead of her, the city glittered like a thing with teeth. And for the first time since the gala, the silence did not feel like abandonment. It felt like a room making space for the woman she had not been allowed to become. By morning, the Wicker Park apartment no longer felt temporary. Evelyn woke before sunrise, unsure where she was for 3 full seconds. The ceiling above her was unfamiliar. The room was smaller than the one she had shared with Grant, the walls painted a soft gray, the curtains moving faintly from the heat pushing through the vents. Outside the window, Chicago was still blue with early winter light. Then she remembered. The gala, the location pin, Claire in the lobby. Grant's face twisted with rage. Roman's car waiting below while she stood in a room no one could enter without her permission. She sat up slowly. No footsteps in the hallway. No phone buzzing on the nightstand with another excuse. No husband moving through the house like she was furniture he had grown tired of seeing. Just silence. For the first time in days, Evelyn did not hate it. She made coffee in the small kitchen and drank it standing by the window. Across the street, a woman in a red coat walked a gray dog through the snow. A delivery truck idled at the corner. Somewhere below, a man scraped ice from his windshield with short, angry movements. Life had not paused for her grief. She was beginning to understand that maybe it did not have to. Her phone rang at 8:17. Unknown number. For a second, she considered ignoring it. Then she thought of lawyers' courts paperwork, all the new machinery of her life. She answered. Evelyn Monroe. A woman's voice came through calm and official. Mrs. Monroe, this is Detective Laura Bennett with the Chicago Police Department. I need to ask you some questions regarding a report filed by your husband, Grant Monroe. The mug in Evelyn's hand went still. A report. Yes, ma'am. He has alleged theft of marital property, unauthorized movement of funds, and possible fraud involving shared assets. The apartment seemed to shrink around her. I did not steal anything. I understand this is upsetting. We are required to follow up. You may come in voluntarily, and you have the right to bring an attorney. Evelyn placed the mug on the counter with deliberate care. When? This morning, if possible. I will call my lawyer. That would be wise. The call ended. For a moment, Evelyn stood motionless, her hand still holding the phone. She could hear her own breathing. Too fast, too shallow. Grant had done it. He had taken the woman he betrayed and handed her name to the police. Not because he believed she stole from him, because he wanted her afraid. She called Maggie Sloan first. Maggie answered on the 3rd ring. Tell me. Evelyn's voice came out thin. Grant filed a police report. There was 1 second of silence. Then Maggie said a word Evelyn had never heard from her mouth before, sharp enough to cut glass. Do not speak to anyone without me. Text me the detective's name. I will meet you at the station in 40 minutes. I did not do anything. I know. He knows I did not do anything. That is not why he did it. Evelyn closed her eyes. I feel sick. Good. That means you understand the game changed. Now breathe. Get dressed and bring your folder with the lease moving receipts, bank screenshots, and the inventory photos you took at the house. Roman told me to take those. Roman has survived men worse than Grant. Evelyn opened her eyes. The city outside looked colder than before. After she hung up, she called Roman. He answered immediately. Evelyn. Grant filed a police report. The silence on the line went so still it had weight. What did he claim? Theft, fraud, moving marital assets. Roman's voice lowered. Where are you at the apartment? Lock the door. I am coming. Roman Maggie is meeting me. So am I. You do not have to. I know. She almost smiled at that even now. Then his voice changed. Did the detective ask you questions? No. She told me to come in. Good. Say nothing until Sloane is beside you. I am scared. The confession slipped out before pride could stop it. Roman did not soften the truth. You should be. Not because you are guilty, because false accusations still bruise. Evelyn pressed her hand to the edge of the counter. I hate him. No, Roman said. Today you hate what he is willing to become. That was worse, because it was true. Roman arrived 20 minutes later. Evelyn heard the car before she saw it, the low engine at the curb, then his footsteps on the stairs. She opened the door before he knocked. He stood in the hallway in a black overcoat, hair touched with melting snow, eyes moving over her face with a focus that made lying impossible. You have the documents. She lifted the folder. Yes. Phone, yes. Did you eat? She stared at him. Seriously? Fear burns through the body. You need something in it. I cannot eat. He held out a paper bag. Then carry it until you can. Inside was a croissant wrapped in wax paper. The kindness almost broke her more than the police call had. She took the bag. Thank you. His gaze held hers. Later. At the station, everything smelled like old coffee-wet coats and fluorescent lights. Maggie was already there, silver hair, neat navy coat, buttoned, eyes sharp enough to make the front desk officer sit straighter. Mrs. Monroe, she said, as if they were meeting for lunch instead of a police interview. Mr. Blackwell. Roman nodded. Maggie looked at Evelyn. You are going to answer only what I approve. You are not going to explain emotionally. You are not going to defend your character. Documents do that better. Evelyn nodded. Detective Bennett led them into a small interview room with beige walls and a metal table. Roman did not enter. Maggie stopped him at the door with one glance. Outside. Roman looked at Evelyn. She nodded once. He stepped back. The door closed. Detective Bennett was in her 40s with tired eyes and a wedding ring she twisted once before opening the file. She did not look cruel. That made the situation feel more real, not less. Mrs. Monroe, your husband claims you removed high-value items from the marital home without consent and transferred funds from a joint account. Maggie placed a folder on the table. My client removed personal clothing, books, work materials, and premarital furniture, all documented with photographs. No joint funds were transferred. Her temporary residence is covered by a signed lease paid from her individual checking account. Detective Bennett reviewed the documents. Evelyn sat with her hands in her lap, nails pressed into her palm. The detective looked up. Mr. Monroe also alleges that Mr. Blackwell provided housing in exchange for undisclosed financial or personal favors. Heat rushed to Evelyn's face. Maggie's voice turned glacial. Alleges based on what evidence? The detective glanced at the file. He provided screenshots of a blog post and a statement that Mrs. Monroe has been spending private time with Mr. Blackwell. Maggie smiled. It was not a friendly smile. A gossip post and a jealous husband's statement are not evidence. The lease is. The payment record is. The building access log is. We can provide all of it. Detective Bennett looked at Evelyn. Did you have a romantic relationship with Mr. Blackwell during your marriage? Evelyn felt the question like a hand at her throat. Maggie leaned forward. My client will answer because the truth is simple, but let the record reflect that this question is based on an accusation with no foundation. Evelyn lifted her chin. No, I did not. The detective watched her for a moment. Then she closed the folder. I appreciate your cooperation. Based on what I am seeing, this looks like a domestic dispute being dressed up as a criminal complaint. I will still need to complete my notes. Maggie gathered the documents. Please include that Mr. Monroe has active divorce proceedings and that this report followed his unsuccessful attempt to negotiate settlement terms. Detective Bennett nodded. I will. When Evelyn stepped into the hallway, Roman was waiting by the vending machine, still as a shadow. He looked at her face and knew before she spoke. It is not going anywhere, she said. His shoulders lowered by a fraction. Good. Maggie joined them. Grant has just made a serious mistake. False reports do not play well in divorce court, especially when paired with financial misconduct. Evelyn turned. What financial misconduct? Maggie's eyes sharpened. My team found something this morning. I was waiting until after the interview. Roman's expression changed. Maggie lowered her voice. Secret credit card. Hotel charges. Jewelry purchases. Transfers from joint savings into an account that was not disclosed. Some of the money appears connected to Claire's apartment. Evelyn felt the hallway tilt. He used our money? Yes. For her, yes. The humiliation was different this time, not softer, more precise. It was not only that Grant had betrayed her body and trust. He had used the life they built to finance the life he hid. Roman's voice was quiet. How much enough to matter? Maggie said. Enough to hurt him. Evelyn looked at the closed interview room door. He walked into the police station and accused me while he was hiding money. Maggie's smile returned, cold and satisfied. Men who think they are clever often confuse aggression with strategy. Outside the station, the sky had darkened. Snow fell in thin, slanting lines. Roman walked Evelyn to the car while Maggie took a call near the steps. Evelyn stopped beside the passenger door. I want to scream. Roman looked at her. Then scream. She looked around at police officers, pedestrians passing traffic. Here, no one in this city is innocent of worse noise. A laugh broke from her, wild and almost painful. Then the laugh cracked into something else. She pressed both hands over her face. Roman stepped closer but did not touch her. That restraint again. She dropped her hands. Do you know what the worst part is? His eyes stayed on hers. I believed that if I was good enough, he would at least be fair when he left. Roman's face hardened. Fairness is not a reward for obedience. She swallowed. I know. But she had not known. Not really. Not until Grant turned her dignity into something he could attack. Roman opened the car door. Come on. They drove in silence for several blocks. Evelyn held the folder against her chest like armor. Roman's phone buzzed twice. He ignored it. The third time he glanced at the screen and answered. He spoke in a language Evelyn did not understand at first. Italian, maybe? No. Something harder, older. His voice changed, not louder, but stripped of every trace of warmth. Find out who fed the blog. No contact with the woman. No contact with the child. I want names, not noise. Evelyn turned toward him. Roman listened. Then he said no. No one touches Monroe. Not unless I say. Her blood chilled. He ended the call. The car seemed too quiet. What was that? Roman kept his eyes on the road. Business. That was not business. No. She waited. He exhaled slowly. I have people who watch certain problems. Am I a problem? His hands tightened on the wheel. You are a target. The honesty landed between them. Evelyn looked at the passing buildings, the restaurants and brownstones and holiday lights blurred by snow. Are the rumors true? Roman did not answer quickly. When he did, his voice was careful. Some of them. Are you Mafia? The word sounded absurd in her own mouth, like something from a movie, not a question asked in a warm car on a Chicago street. Roman's jaw shifted. My family was. I inherited money, debts, enemies, and men who believe loyalty is the only law that matters. That is not an answer. It is the answer I can give without lying. She turned fully toward him. Have you hurt people? The traffic light turned red. Roman stopped the car. For a moment, the city glowed crimson across his face. Yes, the word was quiet. It did not ask forgiveness. Evelyn's stomach tightened. Will you hurt Grant? Roman looked at her then. Every rumor she had ever heard seemed to stand behind his eyes. If he threatens your body, yes. And if he threatens my name, then I will want to. That is not what I asked. No, Roman said. I will not hurt him for your name, unless you ask me to do something I hope you never ask. Her throat went dry. I do not want blood on my freedom. The light changed. Roman drove forward. Then we do it clean. Can you? His mouth curved without humor. For you, I can try. The answer should not have comforted her. It did. Back at Blackwell Holdings, Maggie sent the financial discovery summary to Evelyn's secure email. Evelyn read it at her desk while the office lights hummed overhead. Roman stood behind her, one hand in his pocket, the other resting on the back of a chair. Hotel charges in Milwaukee, New York. Miami. Restaurants she had never visited. A diamond bracelet purchased 3 days after Grant forgot Evelyn's birthday. Monthly transfers labeled consulting fees. A brokerage account opened under a variation of his middle name. Each line was a small burial. Evelyn clicked through the documents in silence. Roman watched her face. Stop reading. No. You have enough. I want to see all of it. Why? Because I spent a year not seeing. Roman said nothing after that. At 6:30, most of the floor had emptied. Snow tapped softly against the windows. Evelyn remained at her desk, surrounded by documents that made her marriage look less like a love story and more like an audit trail. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She should have let it go. She answered before thinking. Evelyn. Grant's voice came through low and furious. You think you are smart? Her body went cold. She put the call on speaker and opened the recording app on her laptop. Roman saw the movement and went still. Grant, contact my lawyer. Did Maggie enjoy feeding you those lies? You think you found something? Evelyn kept her voice calm. I know what you spent. You know nothing. I know you bought Claire a bracelet with money from our joint account. Silence. Then Grant laughed, but the sound was wrong. You were never this brave before Blackwell put his hands on you. Roman's eyes turned black. Evelyn lifted one hand toward him without looking. Roman has nothing to do with your choices. He has everything to do with this. Men like him do not help women out of kindness. He is using you. Evelyn felt something inside her settle. No, Grant. That was you. The line went quiet. Then his voice came back venomous. You will regret humiliating me. You humiliated yourself. You do not know what I can do. I know exactly what you can do. Lie, threaten, blame, and then call it love when you get scared. Grant breathed hard into the phone. This is not over. No, Evelyn said. But it is recorded. She ended the call. For several seconds, neither she nor Roman moved. Then, Roman turned away and walked to the window. His shoulders were rigid. Evelyn stood. Roman. He did not answer. She crossed the office slowly. The city spread below them, dark and glittering snow moving through the light like ash. I am all right, she said. He laughed once under his breath. No, you are not. No, but I am not alone. That made him turn. The space between them changed instantly. It had been changing for days, perhaps longer, building quietly in moments neither of them named. His jacket on her shoulders, her hand around his card, his car waiting below the apartment. The way he asked if she was safe before he asked anything else. The way she had begun to measure rooms by whether he was in them. Now there was no noise left to hide behind. Roman looked at her mouth. Evelyn saw it. Her breath caught. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "Yes, because of Grant. Yes, because you are my boss. Yes, because of who you are." Roman's gaze returned to her eyes. Especially that. She stepped closer anyway. He did not move. "I should be afraid of you." "Yes, I am. I know. That is not the only thing I feel." His control cracked then only slightly. A flicker in his jaw. A breath drawn too slowly. Evelyn. Her name sounded like a warning. She reached for him, then stopped before her fingers touched his coat. The almost touch was worse than touch. Roman closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, he stepped back. "No." The word struck her. She pulled her hand to her chest. "I am sorry. Do not be," I thought. "You thought correctly." Her heart pounded. "Then why?" "Because you are still bleeding from a wound he made. I will not become the bandage you mistake for skin." The sentence entered her slowly. She looked away first. Not from shame. From the unbearable tenderness of being refused without being rejected. Roman's voice softened. "When you choose me, if you choose me, it will not be because he left a chair empty." Evelyn looked back at him. "And if I already know, then I will wait until knowing costs you nothing." Tears burned her eyes. She hated them. Let them come anyway. Roman did not touch her, but his restraint held her more carefully than many embraces had. The next morning, Maggie prepared them for the emergency hearing. Evelyn sat in the conference room with coffee going cold beside her while Maggie arranged documents into clean stacks. "Grant will push 3 ideas," Maggie said. "That you are unstable, that you are financially dishonest, that Roman compromised your judgment." Evelyn nodded. Maggie looked at Roman. "You will not glare at opposing counsel like you are choosing where to bury him." Roman did not blink. "I make no promises." "Make one." A faint smile moved across Maggie's mouth, then vanished. "This is court, not one of your family rooms." Roman leaned back. "I know the difference." "Good. Show it." Evelyn almost smiled, but her stomach was tight. Maggie turned to her. "You will answer only what is asked. No speeches. No emotional explanations. Grant wants a reaction. We give him evidence." Evidence. The word had become a kind of prayer. That afternoon they walked toward the courthouse under a sky the color of steel. Reporters stood near the steps drawn by Roman's name more than Evelyn's pain. Cameras lifted as soon as the black sedan stopped. Roman stepped out first. The noise sharpened. "Mr. Blackwell, are you involved with Mrs. Monroe? Is Blackwell Holdings paying her legal fees? Mrs. Monroe, did your husband catch you with your boss?" Evelyn froze beside the car. For 1 second, the old instinct rose. Hide, smile. Let someone else speak. Become small enough to survive the room. Roman moved as if to step in front of her. Evelyn touched his sleeve. He stopped. She turned toward the cameras. Snow caught in her hair. The courthouse doors waited behind her. Maggie stood at her side with the file box in both hands. Evelyn's voice came out clear. "My marriage is ending because my husband broke it. I am here to deal with facts, not rumors." The reporters shouted again, but she was already moving. Roman walked beside her close, but not leading. At the top of the steps, Evelyn glanced at him. His eyes held something fierce and quiet. Not possession. Pride. She turned back to the courthouse doors and walked inside. The courthouse doors closed behind Evelyn with a sound that felt too final for a room filled with strangers. Inside, everything was marble brass and cold fluorescent light. The air smelled faintly of paper, old wood, wet wool, and coffee that had been sitting too long. People moved through the halls carrying folders, grief, anger, and the quiet ruin of private lives made public by law. Evelyn stood still for one breath. Maggie Sloane adjusted the file box in her arms and looked at her. "Ready?" Evelyn glanced toward the courtroom doors at the end of the hall. "No." Maggie's mouth curved slightly. "Good. Ready people get careless." Roman stood a few feet behind them, black coat open over his suit face unreadable. Reporters had been left outside, but their voices still seemed to follow Evelyn through the building. "Are you involved with Roman Blackwell? Did your husband catch you with your boss? Is this divorce about revenge?" She had answered once. Facts, not rumors. Now she had to live inside that answer. Roman stepped closer, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "You do not have to look at him unless you choose to." Evelyn looked at him. Grant was not the only man in the room who could pull attention like gravity. Roman did it without trying. Court officers noticed him. Lawyers noticed him. Even people who did not know his name felt the shift when he passed. But in that hallway he did not look like a man who owned buildings and frightened enemies. He looked like a man doing everything in his power not to touch the woman he wanted to protect. Evelyn nodded once. "I know." The courtroom was smaller than she expected, less dramatic. No sweeping staircase, no polished stage for justice to arrive glowing and clean. Just rows of wooden benches, a judge's bench microphone, stacks of files, and a clock on the wall that moved with insulting calm. Grant was already there. He sat beside his attorney, Richard Brennan, in a navy suit Evelyn had picked out for him 2 years ago. She remembered the store, the salesman praising the cut, Grant smiling at himself in the mirror, while Evelyn stood behind him holding the garment bag. Now the suit looked like evidence from another life. Claire sat in the second row behind him. Her hands rested over her stomach. Evelyn noticed the gesture. Protective, possessive, afraid. Grant turned when Evelyn entered. His eyes went to Roman first, then to her. That told her more than any apology could have. Roman took a seat in the back row, not beside her. Maggie had insisted on it. No unnecessary fuel, no images that could be twisted, no tenderness for Grant to weaponize. Evelyn sat at the front with Maggie. Her hands were steady on the table. She kept waiting for them to shake. They did not. The judge entered a woman in her 60s with tired eyes and a voice that tolerated no performance. Everyone rose. Everyone sat. Richard Brennan began first. He painted Grant as a wounded husband, blindsided by a wife who had rushed to court under the influence of a powerful employer. He spoke of marital confusion, emotional distance, private misunderstandings, and the need for fairness. He used the word fairness as if repeating it could make Grant less guilty. Evelyn listened. She did not look at Grant. Then Brennan mentioned Roman. Mrs. Monroe accepted housing from her employer within days of leaving the marital residence. She has also been seen dining privately with Mr. Blackwell, who has a well-known reputation for using influence to shape outcomes. Maggie rose slowly. Your Honor, reputation is not evidence. If opposing counsel wishes to try Mr. Blackwell, he should locate a different courtroom. The judge looked over her glasses. Mr. Brennan, keep to the divorce matter. Brennan nodded, but his mouth tightened. Evelyn felt Roman's presence behind her like a locked door. Then Maggie stood. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. She placed the first document on the projector. A timeline. Grant's late nights, hotel charges, credit card records, text message patterns, bank transfers, the location alert from the night of the gala. Grant shifted in his chair. Maggie moved with brutal patience. This is not a marriage that ended because Mrs. Monroe woke up angry. This is a marriage that Mr. Monroe had already abandoned while continuing to benefit from its appearance. Next came the financial records, a secret credit card, jewelry purchases, hotel stays, transfers labeled consulting fees, payments connected to Claire's building. Claire's face changed as each charge appeared. At first confusion, then calculation, then something close to humiliation. Evelyn watched her from the corner of her eye. There it was. The moment Claire realized Grant had lied to her too. Maybe not in the same way, maybe not with the same vows broken. But lies had a habit of multiplying. Men like Grant did not build one false room. They built houses out of them. Maggie's voice remained calm. Mr. Monroe also filed a police report alleging theft and fraud by my client. That report was made after Mrs. Monroe retained counsel and after Mr. Monroe became aware that she intended to pursue financial discovery. She placed another document before the court. The investigating detective found no support for criminal charges. The report was retaliatory in context and unsupported by the records. Grant leaned toward his attorney, whispering sharply. The judge watched him. Evelyn finally looked at him. He looked smaller than he had in their foyer, smaller than he had in the lobby of Blackwell Holdings, smaller even than the man in the wedding photo smiling like forever was something he could afford to promise. Brennan tried to recover. He spoke of emotional abandonment. He suggested Evelyn's closeness with Roman had created strain in the marriage. He implied she had been more committed to Blackwell Holdings than to her husband. Maggie turned toward him. Mr. Monroe claimed emotional abandonment while conducting an affair for nearly a year. He claimed financial fairness while hiding assets. He claimed concern for reconciliation while preparing a separate life with another woman. The record is not ambiguous. It is inconvenient. The courtroom went quiet. Evelyn felt the sentence settle into the wood, the walls, the air. The record is not ambiguous. For so long, Grant had survived in the fog. Maybe. Maybe not. You misunderstood. You are too sensitive. It is complicated. Maggie had brought light strong enough to burn the fog away. The judge asked Evelyn a few questions. Her voice stayed clear. Yes, she wanted the divorce. Yes, she had left the marital home because she no longer felt emotionally safe remaining there. Yes, she had paid rent on the apartment. No, she had not had a romantic relationship with Roman during her marriage. When that answer left her mouth, she felt Roman behind her. Silent. Still. Grant looked down. The hearing did not end with thunder. Real endings rarely did. The judge took the matter under advisement, issued temporary orders, warned both parties against harassment, and instructed counsel to continue with financial disclosures. The gavel sounded once. That was all. Outside the courtroom, Evelyn stepped into the hallway and felt as if the floor had shifted beneath her feet. Not collapsed. Shifted. Maggie touched her arm. You did well. I did not feel like myself. Good. Your old self kept trying to survive him. This one is telling the truth. Evelyn looked toward the end of the hall. Grant stood near a marble column arguing with Brennan. Claire was nowhere near him now. She stood by the windows, one hand over her stomach, staring at the floor. Then Grant turned and walked toward Evelyn. Roman moved from the back of the hall. Evelyn lifted one hand without looking at him. Not yet. Roman stopped. Grant slowed as he reached her. His face looked pale beneath the courtroom lights. For once, he did not look polished. He looked used up. Evie. The nickname no longer reached the part of her it used to. Do not call me that. He swallowed. Evelyn. Maggie stepped closer, but Evelyn gave her a small nod. Grant's eyes flicked toward Roman, then back. I made mistakes. She studied him. No. You made choices. His jaw tightened. Then he seemed to remember he could no longer win by anger. I panicked. I was confused. Claire and it got out of control. Evelyn almost smiled. There it was again. The weather, the accident, the story where his hands were never on the wheel. "You moved money," she said. "You lied to me. You lied to her. You filed a police report." His eyes shone suddenly. "I was scared. So was I." The words stopped him. For a moment, neither spoke. The courthouse hummed around them. Footsteps, phones, distant elevator bells. A woman crying softly somewhere down the hall. Grant lowered his voice. "I loved you once." That one got through. Not like a knife, like an old bruise pressed unexpectedly. Evelyn looked at the man she had married. She saw the morning coffee he once brought her, the way he danced badly in their kitchen during their first apartment winter, the flowers after her father's surgery. The good things had been real. That was what made the ending hurt. Not because everything had been fake, but because enough had once been true. "I loved you too," she said. His face opened with hope. She let him have that hope for one breath. Then she closed the door gently. "That is why I stayed longer than I should have." Grant looked away. "Is there any way back?" "No." A small word. A clean word. A word with no hatred in it. That seemed to hurt him more. He nodded, but there was no grace in it. Grant had never been graceful at losing. He stepped back, eyes cold again because pain embarrassed him. "You will regret trusting him." Evelyn looked over her shoulder. Roman stood near the courtroom doors, not moving, not interfering, letting her finish the life she had begun without him. Then she looked back at Grant. "I already regret trusting the wrong man once. I will be more careful now." Grant had no answer. Evelyn walked away before he found one. The months that followed did not unfold like a victory montage. They came in pieces: court filings, settlement conferences, boxes, banking forms. Nights when Evelyn woke at 3 in the morning certain she had heard Grant's key in the door. Mornings when she stood under the shower too long because the water was the only place she could cry without feeling watched. Some days she felt strong. Some days she felt foolish for mistaking survival for healing. Maggie kept fighting, quietly, relentlessly. Grant's hidden account became impossible to explain. The credit card statements became impossible to minimize. The false police report became a stain his lawyer could not scrub out. Claire gave a short, sworn statement after learning that Grant had told her the marriage was functionally over long before it was. It was not an apology, not exactly, but it was useful. Then, one gray February afternoon, Maggie called. "It is done." Evelyn was standing in the Wicker Park kitchen stirring soup she had forgotten to season. She stopped. "What is done?" "The settlement. Majority share from the sale of the Lincoln Park house. Reimbursement for funds spent on the affair. Partial legal fees. Temporary support. No direct contact unless through counsel. He signs by 5 or we proceed with sanctions." Evelyn gripped the counter. "And Grant." "He is furious." Evelyn closed her eyes. The answer should have satisfied her. It did not. Maggie's voice softened just barely. "Evelyn, you won." Evelyn looked around the apartment. The navy sofa, the tall windows, the small table where she now ate dinner alone. A place that had once been shelter and was becoming home. "I know," she said. After the call ended, she sat on the kitchen floor and cried, not because she wanted him back, because war took things even when you won it. By spring, Chicago began thawing in reluctant stages. Snow turned to gray slush. Gray slush gave way to wet sidewalks. The river lost its hard winter look. Flower buckets appeared outside grocery stores, bright and defiant. Evelyn bought tulips every Friday. At first she did it because the apartment needed color. then because she liked seeing them open on the windowsill petals reaching toward light without asking permission. She kept working, not hiding inside work anymore. Working. There was a difference. Blackwell Holdings entered a brutal acquisition fight in March. A rival firm tried to exploit the company's recent bad press using Roman's reputation and Evelyn's divorce scandal as pressure points. The board wanted caution. The communications team wanted distance. The legal department wanted delay. Evelyn saw the pattern before the executives did. In a meeting filled with people who outranked her, she stood at the end of the conference table and laid out the risk map she had built overnight. "They are not attacking the deal," she said. "They are attacking confidence. If we answer defensively, we validate the frame. If we move decisively, we make them chase us." An older board member frowned. "And you recommend," Evelyn clicked to the next slide. "Accelerate disclosure, release the independent audit, move the investor call up by 48 hours, put Roman on record for the acquisition, not the gossip. Make the story about performance before they make it about fear." The room went quiet. Roman sat at the head of the table, hands folded, eyes on her face. He did not rescue her. He did not translate. He let the silence belong to her. The plan worked. The acquisition held. The rival firm retreated. Investors stabilized. By the end of the week, 3 executives who had once called her Roman's assistant began asking for her opinion before meetings. 2 months later, the board voted to promote Evelyn Monroe to Director of Strategic Operations. HR reviewed it. Legal reviewed it. The Compensation Committee reviewed it twice because someone insisted on caution. Her record survived every room when Roman told her he did it in his office with the door open. Professional. Careful. Almost painfully so. "The board approved your promotion." Evelyn stood across from his desk. For a moment the words did not land. Then they did. Director. Not Mrs. Grant Monroe. Not the abandoned wife. Not the woman at the gala beside an empty chair. Evelyn Monroe. She smiled slowly. "Did you push them?" Roman leaned back. "I did not have to." That answer meant more than any compliment. Her first day in the new role, someone whispered in the break room not quietly enough. "Must be nice being close to Blackwell." Evelyn turned with her coffee in hand. The room froze. She smiled. "It is, but competence is still more reliable." No one said anything else. Summer arrived. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday morning with a clerk's stamp and less ceremony than renewing a license. Evelyn walked out of the courthouse alone. Maggie had offered to come. Roman had offered nothing because by then he knew her well enough to understand the difference between loneliness and solitude. She stood on the courthouse steps in pale sunlight and looked at her new name on the paperwork. Evelyn Monroe. She had considered changing it, returning to her maiden name, erasing Grant entirely. In the end, she kept it for now. Not because it belonged to him, because she had survived in it, and survival had made it hers. That evening, Roman took her to the Italian restaurant in the West Loop, the same corner booth, the same warm light, the same smell of garlic and bread, but nothing else felt the same. Evelyn wore a red dress because she wanted to. Not for photographs, not for appearances, not for a husband who might or might not show up. Roman watched her across the table. "You look dangerous." She lifted her glass. "I have been practicing." His smile was faint. "To freedom." She touched her glass to his. "To earning it." They drank. For a while they spoke about work, the city, the owner's terrible taste in music, the new analyst who had sent a spreadsheet with formulas broken in every tab. Ordinary things. Safe things. Then Roman set his glass down. "The divorce is final." "Yes." "You have your own apartment." "Yes." "You have your position, your money, your name, your locks changed, and no man standing between you and the door." Evelyn looked at him. "Yes." His voice lowered. I am done waiting if you are. The restaurant sounds faded around them. Evelyn felt no rush of panic, no need to be saved, no empty chair haunting the space between them. Only choice. Clear. Awake. Hers. I do not need you, she said. Roman's eyes warmed. I know. I will not belong to you. I would never ask. I am not interested in being protected so tightly I cannot breathe. Then I will learn where to stand. That answer undid her more than any vow could have. She leaned across the table and kissed him, softly at first. Then with all the certainty she had been denied for too long. Roman did not grab, did not claim. His hand rose to her cheek as if asking permission even after she had already given it. When they parted, his forehead rested near hers. You are sure Evelyn smiled? For once, yes. 1 year after the gala, Blackwell Holdings returned to the Langham Hotel for its Christmas celebration. The same chandeliers glittered overhead. The same champagne moved through the room on silver trays. The same city pressed dark and shining against the windows. But Evelyn did not sit at table 9. She stood near the stage as director of strategic operations, wearing black silk, her hair swept back, a microphone in her hand. Roman stood at the back of the ballroom, watching, as he had watched the year before. Only this time, Evelyn did not need someone to notice her pain. She had become impossible to overlook. Her speech was brief. She thanked her team. She thanked the people who had carried hard work without applause. She spoke of pressure, precision, and the courage to make clean decisions in complicated rooms. She did not mention Grant. She did not mention betrayal. She did not turn her scars into entertainment. When the applause came, she accepted it without shrinking. Afterward, Roman approached with 2 glasses of champagne. Beautiful speech. You always say very little when you mean a lot. I am efficient. She laughed. Across the ballroom table, 9 had another couple seated at it. The chair beside the woman was filled. Her husband leaned over to whisper something that made her smile. Evelyn looked at the table for a long moment. No pain rose, only memory. Roman followed her gaze. All right, she nodded. Yes, a year ago she had believed the empty chair meant she had been abandoned. Now she understood. It had been space. Painful space. Brutal space. Necessary space. Enough room for her to stand. Roman offered his arm. Evelyn looked at it, then at him. She took it not because she needed balance, but because choosing contact felt beautiful when it was no longer survival. They walked out of the ballroom into the hotel lobby. Snow was falling beyond the glass doors, thick and quiet over Chicago. Roman's black car waited at the curb. Evelyn paused before stepping outside. Roman looked down at her. What is it? She turned back once. The chandeliers, the laughter. The room where one life had ended and another had begun. Then she smiled. I am ready. For what? Evelyn looked at the city bright and dangerous beneath the snow. Everything. Roman opened the door. This time, when she stepped into the night, she was not leaving anything behind. She was walking toward herself. Stay until the end, because what Evelyn does next changes everything. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. The ballroom music kept playing behind her, muffled now by the thick glass doors of the terrace, but Evelyn Monroe could still feel the weight of that empty chair inside. Roman Blackwell's jacket rested over her shoulders, warm from his body, carrying the faint scent of cedar smoke and expensive cologne. It should have felt inappropriate. It should have made her step away. He was her boss, after all. A man whose name could make lawyers lower their voices and investors suddenly remember other appointments. But the cold Chicago wind was cutting through her dress, and for the first time that night, someone had noticed she was freezing before she had to say it. Evelyn kept both hands wrapped around her phone. The screen had gone dark, but the image remained in her mind with cruel precision. Grant's location, River North, Claire Whitaker's building, Unit 2704. She had seen the map. She had seen the name. She had seen enough. Behind the glass, the gala continued, as if her life had not just split in two. Someone raised a toast. Someone laughed too hard. A waiter moved between tables with a silver tray of champagne flutes. Her co-workers were still wrapped in their harmless little conversations, bonuses, holiday travel, new clients, the weather turning ugly before midnight. And at table 9, the chair beside her plate remained empty. Roman stood next to her at the stone railing, silent enough to make the silence feel intentional. He did not rush to fill it. He did not tell her she deserved better with the soft, useless tone people used when they wanted to feel helpful without getting involved. He simply stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes on the city below. That was the strange thing about Roman Blackwell. He was never loud. Other men built their importance out of noise. Grant filled rooms with confidence, with polished stories, with courtroom charisma that made people believe him even when he was bending the truth. Roman did the opposite. He entered a room and lowered the temperature. People felt his presence before they heard his voice. Evelyn had watched him control boardrooms with a glance. She had seen men twice his age stop mid-sentence because Roman lifted one finger from the table. She had seen him reject million-dollar proposals without apology, ruin negotiations with a single quiet question, and dismiss powerful people as if power itself bored him. Yet here on the terrace he waited like patience was a form of respect. Evelyn hated that she wanted to lean into it. "I should go back inside," she said. Her voice sounded calm. Too calm. Like it belonged to a woman in another body. Roman turned his head slightly. "Why?" "Because people will notice. They already have." She looked at him. He nodded toward the ballroom. Through the glass, Evelyn saw 2 women from marketing glance toward the terrace and quickly look away. She saw David from finance whisper something to his wife. She saw the empty chair again. Her stomach tightened. "They know," she said. Roman did not answer. That was answer enough. Evelyn let out a slow breath. The sound shook near the end. "How long do you think people have known longer than they should have?" The honesty cut deeper than pity. She looked down at her phone again, her thumb hovering over Grant's name. For a moment she imagined calling him. She imagined hearing his voice smooth and irritated, pretending confusion before choosing anger. She imagined him saying she was overreacting, that Claire was a colleague, that the location was wrong, that she had embarrassed him by making assumptions. She imagined herself wanting to believe him. That was the worst part. Not the lie. The part of her that might still accept another one if he delivered it gently enough. Roman watched her hand. "Do not call him from here." "I was not going to." "Yes, you were." She hated that he saw it. Evelyn slipped the phone into her clutch. "This is none of your business." "No," Roman said. "It is not." But he did not leave. The wind moved through her hair, loosening the careful waves she had pinned before the gala. She had spent nearly an hour getting ready in the mirror, adjusting lipstick, smoothing the emerald fabric over her hips, telling herself Grant would come. He had promised. He had sounded distracted, yes, but Grant always sounded distracted lately. It was work. It was pressure. It was the endless demands of being a successful man with important clients. That was what she had told herself. That was what she had told everyone. A year of excuses. Maybe more. She could see the pattern now, and once seen it turned viciously clear. The late nights. The sudden password changes. The way Grant took calls in the garage. The expensive cologne he began wearing on days he claimed he had court. His impatience when she reached for him in bed. His little comments about how busy he was, how sensitive she had become, how marriage required maturity. Maturity apparently meant sitting alone while your husband built another life 15 minutes away. Roman shifted beside her. You do not have to decide anything tonight. Evelyn swallowed. What if I have already decided, but I am too afraid to admit it? Roman's eyes moved over her face. Not possessive, not hungry, focused. Then say nothing until your fear catches up with your clarity. A laugh escaped her, brittle and quiet. You talk like someone who has done this before. I have watched people destroy themselves trying to save things already dead. And you never do know. The answer came too quickly. Evelyn looked at him. You never hold on too long? Roman's expression did not change, but something went still behind his eyes. I learned early not to reach twice for anyone who let go once. The words hung between them. Not dramatic, not softened, just a fact with blood under it. For the first time, Evelyn wondered who had taught him that. The terrace door opened before she could ask. A young assistant from the events team stepped out, face flushed from the heat inside. Mrs. Monroe. They are starting the awards portion soon. Mr. Grant Monroe still has not checked in, but your table is asking if you are coming back. The girl's eyes flicked to Roman's jacket over Evelyn's shoulders, then quickly away. Evelyn felt heat crawl up her neck. Roman answered before she could. Mrs. Monroe needed air. She will return when she is ready. The assistant nodded so fast it was almost a bow. Of course, Mr. Blackwell. The door closed again. Evelyn stared after her. That will be all over the office by Monday. Probably. You do not care. I rarely care what bored people do with empty minds. She almost smiled. Almost. That must be convenient. It is efficient. The word was so perfectly Roman that something in her chest loosened despite everything. She looked back through the glass. The stage lights washed the ballroom in gold. At table 9, her water glass waited beside an untouched dessert. Her chair had been pulled out slightly, like even the furniture knew she was supposed to return. A perfect wife would go back in. Smile. Survive the evening. Protect her husband's image even when he had not protected her heart. Evelyn had been perfect for so long that imperfection felt like stepping off a roof. She removed Roman's jacket from her shoulders and held it out. I need to finish the dinner. Roman did not take the jacket right away. You do not need to do anything. I do. Why? Because if I run, they will know I broke. Roman's gaze sharpened. Going back in does not prove you are unbroken. No, she said, but it proves I can choose when they see me bleed. For the first time that night, something like approval moved across his face. He took the jacket from her hand but did not put it on. Then walk in like you own the room. Evelyn looked at him. I do not. Roman opened the terrace door. Borrow my confidence. The warmth and noise swallowed them when they stepped back inside. Evelyn lifted her chin. Every eye that had been watching quickly pretended not to. She crossed the ballroom without rushing, heels steady against the marble Roman a few steps behind her. Not close enough to touch, close enough to make people think twice. She returned to table 9 and sat. Jennifer from marketing leaned in immediately. Everything okay? Evelyn placed her napkin in her lap. Yes. The lie felt different this time. Not like surrender. Like a door closing. The awards dragged on. A vice president made a joke about record profits. Someone mispronounced the name of a junior analyst. Applause rose and fell in obedient waves. Evelyn smiled at the correct moments and heard almost nothing. Grant did not come. Not at 9, not at 10. Not even when dessert plates were cleared and spouses began collecting coats from chairbacks. At 10:30, Evelyn's phone buzzed. She looked down. Grant. Sorry, sweetheart. Case ran long. Staying near the office tonight. Do not wait up. Evelyn read the message once, then again. There it was. The same lazy script. Sweetheart. Office. "Do not wait up." Her thumb hovered over the screen. This time she did not reply. Across the ballroom, Roman watched her see the message. He stood near the exit now, speaking to an older board member with silver hair and an anxious smile. His face remained polite, but his eyes were on Evelyn. She set the phone face down. Around her, couples began leaving in pairs. Men helped wives into coats. Wives reminded husbands about umbrellas. One older couple from accounting held hands as they waited for the valet. Such small gestures. Such ordinary tenderness. Evelyn had once believed ordinary tenderness would be the shape of her life. By the time she stepped into the hotel lobby, snow had begun to fall hard over Chicago. It blurred the streetlights and softened the sharp edges of the city. Her car service was 7 minutes away. She stood near the revolving doors, arms wrapped around herself, suddenly aware of how tired she was. Roman appeared beside her. "Your driver. On the way. Cancel it." She turned. "Excuse me, I will take you home." "That is not appropriate." "No. But neither is letting you sit alone in a hired car after discovering your husband is with his mistress." The word mistress hit like a slap. Evelyn looked away. Roman softened his voice. "I will take you wherever you want to go. Home. A hotel. Your sister's house. The office. You choose." "I do not have a sister. A friend, then." The silence stretched. Evelyn had friends technically. Brunch friends. Holiday card friends. Women she smiled with at charity luncheons and texted about Pilates classes she rarely attended. But no one she could call at nearly 11 at night and say, "My husband is in another woman's apartment, and I do not know where to put my grief." Roman understood before she said it. His driver pulled up in a black sedan with tinted windows, the kind of car that looked less parked than positioned. Evelyn should have refused. Instead, she said, "Home." Roman opened the door for her. The drive to Lincoln Park was quiet. Chicago moved past in silver and black, the river dark beneath bridges, snow gathering along the edges of the windshield. Roman sat beside her, not touching her, not crowding her, not asking questions that would force her to fall apart before she was ready. Evelyn watched her reflection in the window. She looked composed. Beautiful, even. The emerald dress still fit perfectly. Her earrings still caught the passing lights. Her lipstick had barely faded. She wondered how many women had looked this put together on the worst night of their lives. When the car stopped outside her house, the windows were dark. Grant was not home. Of course he was not. Roman looked at the house. "Do you want me to walk you in?" "No." It came out too fast. He nodded. Evelyn reached for the door handle, then paused. "Thank you." Roman's eyes met hers. "Do not thank people for basic decency. It lowers the standard." She stepped out into the snow before he could see what that did to her. Inside the house smelled faintly of pine and furniture polish. The Christmas tree glowed in the living room, carefully decorated in gold and ivory, because Grant disliked colorful ornaments. Beneath it sat 3 wrapped gifts Evelyn had bought for him 2 weeks earlier. A watch, a leather briefcase, a first-edition legal biography he had mentioned once and forgotten. She stood in front of the tree for a long time, then she walked upstairs. The bedroom was immaculate. Grant's side of the bed was untouched. His watch tray was half empty. His favorite navy tie was gone from the closet. Evelyn took off her earrings and placed them on the dresser. She removed her makeup slowly, almost ceremonially, watching the woman in the mirror become less polished and more real with each swipe of cotton. When she passed the wedding photo on the dresser, she stopped. Grant in a black tuxedo, Evelyn in lace. Late summer light behind them, his hand at her waist, her face turned toward him like he was the answer to a question she had carried all her life. She picked up the frame. For a moment, she almost threw it. Instead, she placed it face down. The sound it made against the wood was small but final. She slept in the guest room, or tried to. At 2:17, her phone buzzed. Grant again. Long night. Still at office. Love you. Evelyn stared at the words until they became shapes with no meaning. Love you. 3 syllables, 8 letters. A fraud wearing familiar clothes. She deleted the message. The next morning, gray light filled the guest room. The house was silent except for the hum of heat in the vents. Evelyn showered, dressed in a navy suit, and made coffee she did not drink. She stood at the kitchen island and looked around at the life she and Grant had built. Marble counters, custom cabinets, a refrigerator full of food for dinners he no longer came home to eat. A bowl of green apples staged by the sink because a magazine once said it made a kitchen look fresh. Everything looked expensive. Nothing looked loved. At Blackwell Holdings, Evelyn arrived before sunrise. The building lobby was still quiet, the security guard half hidden behind monitors, the marble floors reflecting the cold blue light from outside. She rode the private elevator to the 42nd floor and stepped into the executive suite as if entering a place where gravity worked differently. Here things made sense. Emails had answers. Calendars had slots. Contracts had clauses. Problems arrived with deadlines and left with solutions. Work did not vanish into another woman's apartment and then text that it loved you. Evelyn turned on the lights. She brewed Roman's coffee, black, no sugar. She reviewed his schedule. 10 o'clock investor call. 11:30 legal briefing. Lunch with the acquisition team. 3 o'clock meeting with communications. She flagged 3 urgent files and corrected a mistake in a merger summary before the analyst who made it had even reached the building. By 7:30, Roman walked in. Black overcoat, charcoal suit. No visible trace of the gala, the terrace, the jacket around her shoulders. Only his eyes gave him away. They paused on her face for half a second too long. "Good morning," she said, handing him the coffee and briefing folder. He took both. Did he come home? Evelyn held his gaze. No. Roman's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I am sorry." She looked down at the folder. "Please do not be kind to me right now." "Why?" "Because I will embarrass myself." His voice lowered. "You are allowed. Not here." Around them, the office was waking. Assistants arriving, phones ringing, elevators opening, the machine beginning its daily rhythm. Roman looked at the open door to his office. "Come in for a minute. I have your investor notes to finalize." They can wait. They cannot. That earned the faintest lift of his brow. "Arguing with me already, I am doing my job." "No," he said quietly. "You are hiding inside it." The words landed too close. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the edge of his calendar. "I am here. I am functioning. That is what matters." Roman studied her. Then he stepped aside. For now. He entered his office and left the door open. An invitation again. She ignored it again. The morning passed in layers of controlled movement. Evelyn answered emails, rescheduled a call with Tokyo, prepared a risk memo, and corrected a seating chart for a board dinner no one had told her had changed. Her hands knew what to do even when her mind kept drifting to River North. Unit 2704, Claire Whitaker. At 11, Grant called. She watched his name pulse on the screen. Did not answer. At 11:15, he called again. At noon, a voicemail appeared. She listened with the phone low against her ear. "Evie, I do not know why you are ignoring me. If you are upset about last night, we can talk when I get home. I had a brutal night with the case. You know how this works. Call me back. No guilt, no fear, just irritation wrapped in entitlement." Evelyn deleted it. At 1, Roman appeared beside her desk. "Have you eaten? I am not hungry." That was not my question. She kept typing. "I have a lot to finish. You always have a lot to finish. Because you run a complicated company. And yet the company will survive 30 minutes without you." She looked up. Is this concern or management both? I do not need lunch. Roman leaned one hand on the edge of her desk, close enough for her to notice the watch at his wrist, the clean lines of his fingers, the faint scar near his thumb she had never seen before. You need to sit somewhere that does not require you to pretend. Evelyn lowered her voice. Roman. It was the first time she had used his first name at work. They both noticed. His eyes darkened, not with desire exactly, but with awareness. Come with me, he said. She should have said no. Instead, she saved her file and reached for her coat. The restaurant was small, tucked on a quiet West Loop street between a florist and an old bookstore with fogged windows. No sign announced it loudly. Just a green awning, warm light, and the smell of garlic and bread drifting out when Roman opened the door. The owner greeted him in Italian, rapid and affectionate. Roman answered in the same language, smooth as smoke. Evelyn stared. You speak Italian? Roman removed his gloves. Among other things. Of course you do. The owner led them to a corner booth away from the few lunch customers. No one stared at Roman directly, but everyone noticed him. Evelyn had become familiar with that radius of attention around him, that quiet shift in the room when people sensed danger dressed as refinement. She slid into the booth. This is where you bring distressed employees. No. Then what is this place? Roman glanced around. Somewhere I can think without being interrupted. A waiter appeared with water and menus. Roman ordered before Evelyn could open hers. She gave him a look. I can choose my own lunch. I know. But you ordered for me. You can dislike it if you want. That is not the point. The pasta is better than the point. Despite herself, Evelyn laughed. It surprised them both. The sound was small, rough, from disuse, but real. Roman's face changed as he heard it. Not much, just enough. The food arrived quickly. Fresh bread, a simple salad, pasta with lemon butter, black pepper, and shaved cheese. Evelyn intended to take one polite bite, then another. Then she realized she had not eaten since lunch the day before. Roman said nothing. That was another thing she liked and resented about him. He noticed everything, then let her keep her dignity. For a while they talked about harmless things. The absurdity of corporate holiday speeches. The way Chicago winters turned every person into a philosopher with wet shoes. Books they had read. Places they disliked. Roman had strong opinions about Aspen modern art auctions and men who wore loafers without socks in December. Evelyn found herself listening, not performing. Listening. Then Roman set down his glass. What do you want to do? The warmth at the table thinned. Evelyn looked at her hands. I do not know. Do you want to stay married? Her mouth opened. No answer came. A year ago, she would have said yes before he finished the question. 6 months ago, she would have said they were going through a difficult season. A week ago, she would have defended Grant with the tired loyalty of a woman trying to protect the image of a house already burning. Now she saw the empty chair, the location pin, the message at 2:17. I do not know who I am if I leave, she said. Roman's voice was quiet. You are not the marriage. I built my life around it. Then that life was built around something too small for you. She looked up sharply. You say that like leaving is easy. No. I say it like staying has been costing you more than you admit. That silenced her. Outside the restaurant window, snow slid from the edge of a parked car onto the curb. A woman hurried past with a scarf wrapped over her mouth. A delivery truck blocked half the street, earning a chorus of horns from impatient drivers. The world continued. Indifferent, ordinary, almost insulting. Evelyn took another sip of water. He was not always like this. Roman waited. He used to call when he was going to be late. He used to bring me coffee if he had an early meeting near my office. He remembered things, small things. I thought that mattered, It did. Then why was it so easy for him to stop? Roman looked down at his glass for the first time. Because some people treat devotion like furniture, useful while it fits the room, invisible once they get used to it. Evelyn felt that one settle deep. She blinked hard and looked toward the kitchen lights. I hate that I still want him to explain it. That is not weakness. It feels like it. It is grief looking for a shape. She turned back to him. Who taught you to talk like that? For a moment his face closed. No one kind. The answer warned her not to push. So she did not. The check never came. Roman must have arranged it somehow. He stood, helped her with her coat without touching more than the fabric, and guided her back to the car through falling snow. On the ride back, Evelyn's phone buzzed again. Grant. She did not answer. Roman noticed. Good. You are very opinionated about a marriage that is none of your business. Yes. She looked at him. That is it. I'm not going to pretend neutrality. He is humiliating you. I dislike it. Because I work for you. Because you matter. The words filled the car too quickly. Evelyn looked out the window. Her reflection stared back, cheeks flushed from the restaurant eyes too bright. You should not say things like that. Why? Because I am married. Roman's voice remained steady. Yes. And you are my boss. Yes. And people already whisper about you. They always have. That does not bother you. Very few things do. She turned from the window. What does Roman's gaze stayed on the road? Disloyalty. The car moved through a green light. Snow flicked across the windshield. And waste, he added. Waste, yes. Like bad investments, like brilliant women spending their lives making excuses for mediocre men. Evelyn's breath caught. Roman pulled up in front of Blackwell Holdings and put the car in park. He did not look at her right away. I am not trying to tell you what to do. It sounds like you are. I am trying to remind you that you can do something. She sat still. For years, the difference between those two things had blurred. Grant made suggestions that were really commands. He called it being practical. He called it wanting what was best. He called it partnership when what he meant was obedience wrapped in romance. Roman had power, more power than Grant could ever fake, yet he handed the choice back to her like it belonged there. Evelyn opened the car door. Thank you for lunch. Evelyn. She paused. Roman reached into his coat and pulled out a black business card. On the front, his name was printed in silver. On the back, he wrote a number with a fountain pen. My personal line. She looked at it, but did not take it. That seems unnecessary. Most precautions do until they are not. Grant will not hurt me. Roman's eyes moved over her face. Physically, perhaps not. That quiet perhaps made the air feel colder. Evelyn took the card. Their fingers brushed. The contact lasted less than a second, but it moved through her like a match struck in a dark room. Roman withdrew first. If he comes home, angry call. I can handle my husband. I believe you. Then why give me this? Because handling something alone is not the same as having no one to call. She closed her hand around the card. Back upstairs, Evelyn returned to her desk and worked until the city outside turned black. The office emptied gradually. Assistants packed bags. Executives loosened ties. The cleaning crew moved softly down the hallway. Roman remained in his office door, half open, a pool of lamplight around him. Evelyn could hear the low murmur of his phone calls, the occasional pause, the calm authority of a man accustomed to obedience. At 7:15, Grant texted, We need to talk. I am home. Evelyn stared at the message. Her pulse slowed, then sharpened. For one strange second, she thought of ignoring it. Going to a hotel, staying at the office, calling Roman before the conversation even began. Then she saw herself in the guest room in the house with the perfect Christmas tree and the face-down wedding photo still waiting for Grant to decide whether truth suited him. No. She packed her laptop, put on her coat, slipped Roman's card into the small pocket of her purse. As she passed his office, Roman looked up. She did not need to tell him. He saw it on her face. "He is home," Roman said. Evelyn nodded. Roman stood slowly. "I can have a car take you." "I drove. Then text me when you get inside." She almost refused out of habit. Instead, she said, "All right." The drive to Lincoln Park felt longer than usual. The streets were slick with snow, the windshield wipers moving in a steady rhythm. Evelyn kept both hands on the wheel. Her phone sat silent in the cup holder. She thought of the woman she had been at the gala, sitting beside an empty chair inventing excuses for a man who had stopped deserving them. She thought of Roman's voice on the terrace. "Stop lying for him." By the time she turned onto her street, the lights of her house were blazing. Grant's car sat in the driveway. Evelyn parked behind it and turned off the engine. For a moment she stayed in the dark, listening to the soft ticking of the cooling car, watching snow gather on the windshield. Then she picked up her phone and texted Roman. "I am here." His reply came almost instantly. "Breathe first, then go in." Evelyn looked at the front door. Behind it waited her husband. His explanations, his anger, his version of the truth. She slipped her phone into her coat pocket, stepped out into the snow, and walked toward the house. Evelyn stood on the porch for a moment before she opened the door, snow melting in her hair, her fingers wrapped around the cold metal key. Inside the house was too bright. Every lamp in the foyer was on. The living room glowed with the soft gold lights of the Christmas tree. The polished floors reflected everything back at her. The wreath on the banister, the ivory stockings above the fireplace, the careful beauty of a life arranged for people who might visit, not for the woman who had to live inside it. Grant was waiting near the staircase. He was still in his work clothes, white shirt open at the collar tie pulled loose, hair slightly disordered in the way that usually made him look charming. Tonight it looked staged. He had always known how to look like the injured party. "Where the hell have you been?" he asked. Evelyn closed the door behind her. The latch clicked softly. "I was at work. I called you all day. I saw." "You saw?" His laugh was sharp. "That is all you have to say?" She removed her gloves slowly and placed them on the entry table. "I had nothing to say." Grant stared at her, searching her face for the version of Evelyn he knew how to handle. The woman who smoothed over tension. The woman who apologized before she was asked. The woman who listened while he explained why his absence made sense and her hurt did not. That woman did not come to the door tonight. Grant shifted his weight. "Evie, if this is about the gala I told you." The case ran late. She looked at him. No, it did not. The house seemed to still around them. Grant's expression changed by inches. First annoyance, then calculation, then a faint crease between his brows as if he were disappointed in her for making this difficult. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means I know where you were Friday night." His mouth opened, then closed. Evelyn walked past him into the living room. The tree lights blinked softly against the windows. The wrapped gifts beneath it sat in a neat row, each one chosen by a woman who had been trying to love a man who had already left. Grant followed her. "I was at the office." "No," she said. "You were in River North." His face went still. She turned. "Claire Whitaker's apartment, Unit 2704. For a few seconds there was no sound except the wind pressing snow against the glass. Then Grant looked away. It was tiny, barely a movement, but Evelyn saw it. All her life, she had been trained to read men who did not want to be read. Clients with hidden agendas, executives lying through polished smiles, Grant pretending fatigue when it was guilt. That small glance away was a confession dressed as silence. Grant dragged a hand through his hair. "You tracked me." The anger came too fast. It confirmed everything. "You shared your location with me," Evelyn said, "for safety. Remember, that was not an invitation to spy on me like some kind of paranoid lunatic." Her eyebrows lifted. "Careful. Do not careful me. You have no right to invade my privacy. I had every right to know why my husband left me sitting alone at a Christmas gala while he was in another woman's apartment." Grant swallowed. The practiced outrage flickered. Nothing happened. Evelyn let the words sit there. They were so insulting that for a moment she almost smiled. "Do you really want that to be your first lie of the night?" His jaw tightened. "It is not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." He looked toward the fireplace, toward the tree, toward anything that did not look back with her eyes. "Claire and I work together. We have been under pressure. Late nights, big case. Things got complicated. Complicated is a word people use when the truth makes them look small." Grant's eyes snapped to her. "That is not fair." "No. Fair was me sitting at table 9 telling your colleagues you were working hard while you were betraying me 15 minutes away." His mouth tightened again. "I did not plan for this." "For what? To get caught, to happen." Evelyn laughed once, soft and empty. "You keep speaking as if the affair was weather." Grant stepped closer. "Evie, please." There it was. The softer voice. The one that once made her drop arguments because she wanted peace more than she wanted truth. He reached for her hand. She stepped back. His fingers closed around air. Something in his face hardened. "How long?" she asked. He exhaled. "Do we have to do this right now?" "Yes. I am tired. So am I. This is not a conversation to have when you are emotional." Evelyn looked at him for a long moment. "I have never been less emotional in my life." That was not entirely true. Somewhere beneath her ribs, something was burning. But the fire was clean. It was not the messy flame of panic. It was the kind that cleared land. Grant looked at the floor. "A few months." She said nothing. He looked up at her. "What?" "You are lying." He ran his tongue along his teeth. "Almost a year." The room changed shape around her. Almost a year. A year of reaching across the bed and finding his back turned. A year of canceled dinners. A year of him telling her she was needy, suspicious, dramatic, too sensitive, too quiet, too much, and somehow never enough. A year. Evelyn felt the pain arrive slowly like cold water filling a room. She looked at the Christmas tree. Last December, she had stood in this same room wrapping Grant's gifts while he claimed to be buried in trial prep. He came home after midnight smelling faintly of perfume she did not own. She remembered asking about it. She remembered his smile. Court reporter hugged me after the verdict. "You know how emotional people get." Evelyn had laughed because he laughed. Now the memory turned in her stomach. "Were you with her last Christmas too?" she asked. Grant said nothing. Her answer lived in his silence. She nodded once, not because she understood, but because her body needed somewhere to put the blow. "Evie, do not call me that." He looked wounded by the correction, as if the nickname belonged to him even now. "I never meant to hurt you, but you were willing to. That is not the same thing. It is exactly the same thing from where I am standing." Grant took a breath, steadying himself for the speech. She knew that breath. He used it in court before turning the room in his favor. I cared about her. I still care about her. I am not proud of it, but I was confused. You and I have been distant. We stopped talking. We stopped being us. Evelyn stared at him. We stopped being us because you moved half of yourself into another woman's bed and left me speaking to the empty half. His face flushed. That is unfair. Stop saying that. You are acting like I did this alone. Marriage is two people. So is betrayal, apparently. He looked at her as if she had slapped him. For years, Evelyn had edited herself around Grant's comfort. She had softened sentences before they left her mouth. She had praised him in public, defended him in private, taken his impatience and translated it into stress. But tonight, every sentence came out clean and sharp, as if the truth had been waiting behind her teeth. Grant paced toward the window, then back. I wanted to tell you, when I did not know how. You knew how to lie. He stopped, his voice lowered. Do you want me to say, I am sorry, I want you to be sorry? There is a difference. He stared at her, then his face changed again. The softness left. The injured husband vanished. Something colder took his place. So that is it. You are going to stand there and judge me like you were perfect. Evelyn felt the shift. The old trick. If he could not defend himself, he would put her on trial. I was faithful. That is not the same as being present. The words hit, but not the way he intended. She folded her arms. Say what you mean. Grant's eyes glittered. You were always working, always at Blackwell's beck and call, always so proud of being indispensable to another man. There it was. Roman's shadow entered the room without opening the door. Evelyn's voice went flat. This is not about Roman. Grant laughed. Of course it is about Roman. Do you think I did not notice the way people talk about him? The way you talk about him. Roman needs this. Roman prefers that. Roman does not like mistakes. You are embarrassing yourself. No, I am finally saying what everyone else thinks. You spend more time managing that man's life than your own marriage. Evelyn walked to the entry table. Grant followed her with his eyes. She picked up her wedding ring. For a moment the diamond caught the Christmas lights and threw them across the wall in tiny fractured stars. I managed your life too, she said. Your dinners, your calendar, your family birthdays, your suits at the cleaners, your excuses when you did not show up. I made you look like a better husband than you were. Grant's anger faltered. She placed the ring on the table. The sound was small. Grant stared at it. What are you doing? I want a divorce. The word did not echo. It landed, heavy, solid, final. Grant looked at her as if he had never seen her before. You are being ridiculous. No. This is one mistake. This is 1 year. You are angry. I am awake. His mouth tightened. You will regret this. Probably, she said. Grief is not proof that I chose wrong. That stopped him for half a second. Then he came closer, lowering his voice. Think about what you are doing. The house, the accounts, our families. People will ask questions. Let them. You do not mean that. I mean it more than anything I have said in this house for months. Grant's eyes moved to the ring again. You are going to throw away 4 years. Evelyn's voice softened, and somehow that made it worse. No, Grant. You already did. I am just refusing to keep the pieces arranged like they are still whole. His face hardened. You have no idea what divorce is going to look like. I will learn. You think Blackwell is going to protect you? I think you need to leave. Grant blinked. This is my house. It is our house. Tonight I am asking you to leave it. He laughed once. Absolutely not. Then I will sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow I will call a lawyer. After that, every conversation goes through them. You cannot just cut me out. I am not cutting you out. I am ending access. Grant stepped close enough that she could smell the whiskey on his breath. You are making a mistake. For the first time that night, fear touched the edge of her anger. Not because she thought he would hit her. Grant was too careful for violence that left marks. But there were other ways to hurt a woman. Reputation, money, memory, making her doubt the ground under her own feet. Evelyn looked him in the eye. Move. He stared at her. Something in her voice must have warned him. Or maybe he finally saw that the woman in front of him would not bend just because he leaned harder. He grabbed his coat from the closet. At the door, he turned back. I did love you. Evelyn held herself very still. I know. His expression softened. For one foolish breath, he seemed relieved. Then she finished. That is why this is so ugly. You knew what love looked like, and you still chose to betray it. Grant opened the door and stepped into the snow. The house swallowed the silence he left behind. Evelyn locked the door. Then she stood with her forehead against the wood and breathed through the shaking in her knees. She made it upstairs before she broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. She sat on the guest room floor in her navy suit back against the bed, hands pressed to her mouth as if she could hold the sound inside. The tears came hot and furious, but they did not last long. Her body seemed too tired to keep producing grief. When the shaking stopped, she reached into her purse. Roman's card was still there. For several seconds, she stared at the number. Calling him felt dangerous for reasons that had nothing to do with rumors. Still, she dialed. He answered on the second ring. Evelyn. The way he said her name almost undid her. I told him I want a divorce. Silence moved through the line. Then Roman asked, Are you safe? Not are you sure. Not can it be fixed. Safe. Evelyn closed her eyes. Yes, he left. Good. She laughed weakly. That is all you have, no. That is first. She leaned her head back against the mattress. I thought I would feel powerful. How do you feel? Like someone opened every window in the middle of winter. Roman's voice softened. Power is not always warm. She wiped under her eyes with the heel of her hand. He said I will regret it. He will make sure you do for a while. That honesty steadied her more than comfort would have. What do I do now? Lock the doors. Take photographs of anything valuable in the house. Do not move money. Do not answer his calls tonight. Sleep if you can. She opened her eyes. You sound like you have given this speech before. I have seen men become very creative when control leaves the room. Evelyn looked toward the hallway, toward the bedroom she no longer wanted to enter. I do not know how to do this. Yes, you do. No, Roman, I really do not. His voice remained calm. You walked into the house. You faced him. You told the truth. That was the hardest part of tonight. Tonight. He did not pretend not to hear the fear in the word. Tomorrow, I will take you to someone who knows how to handle the rest. A lawyer. The best one in Chicago. I can find my own lawyer. I know. Then why are you doing this? The line went quiet for one beat. Because you should not have to spend your first free morning searching the internet while your husband searches for ways to punish you. Evelyn pressed her fingers to her eyes. He is going to punish me, isn't he? Yes. The word was gentle somehow. But he is no longer doing it in the dark. After they hung up, Evelyn did what Roman told her. She photographed the living room, the kitchen, the office, the safe in the closet, the jewelry drawer, the paperwork in the filing cabinet. She moved through the house like a stranger documenting a crime scene. In a way, that was what it was. The crime was not only the affair, it was the slow theft of her certainty. At midnight, Grant texted, You are overreacting. We need to talk like adults. She did not answer. At 12:20, another message. Do not involve lawyers. You will make this worse. She did not answer. At 1 in the morning, I made a mistake. But you are not innocent in this marriage either. Evelyn stared at that one for a long time. Then she turned off the phone. Sleep came in pieces. By dawn, the city was pale and frozen. Evelyn showered, dressed in a charcoal wool dress, and pinned her hair back so tightly her scalp ached. She did not want softness today. Softness had gotten too expensive. At 7:30, Roman was waiting outside in the black sedan, not his driver. Roman himself behind the wheel. Evelyn paused on the sidewalk. He stepped out and opened the passenger door. You did not have to come yourself. I know. She slid into the car. The heat was already running. A paper cup of coffee waited in the holder beside her. Black lid. Her usual order from the cafe, 2 blocks from the office. She looked at it. When did you learn how I take coffee? Roman pulled away from the curb. You order it the same way every morning and then forget to drink half of it. Evelyn looked out the window to hide the ache that small observation caused. The law office was on the 31st floor of a glass tower near Daly Plaza. The kind of place with quiet carpets, heavy doors, and receptionists who looked trained to keep secrets. Margaret Sloane entered the conference room precisely at 8:15. She was in her 50s with silver hair cut just below her jaw and eyes that missed nothing. Her suit was navy, her nails short, her handshake firm without performance. Mrs. Monroe, she said. I am sorry you need me. Evelyn took her hand. So am I. Maggie glanced at Roman. Blackwell. Sloane. There was history in the greeting, but Evelyn did not ask. Maggie sat and opened a legal pad. Roman gave me the outline. I need the truth, not the polite version. Evelyn breathed in. Then she told it. The gala, the empty chair, the location alert, Claire's apartment, the confrontation, the admission, almost a year, the ring on the table, Grant's threats. Maggie took notes without interrupting except for precise questions. Children. Gnome. House. In both names. Joint accounts. Yes. Any separate inheritance. None. Evidence of the affair besides location. Only the address and his admission. Any texts. Not yet. Maggie's pen stopped. Not yet is honest. Good. Evelyn looked at Roman. He sat beside her but slightly back present without taking over. Maggie folded her hands. Here is what happens now. We file first. We preserve assets. We request full financial disclosure. You communicate with Grant only in writing, preferably through counsel. If he calls you, do not answer. If he threatens you, save it. If he apologizes, you save that too. Evelyn swallowed. This sounds like war. Maggie's expression did not soften. It became war when he betrayed you and warned you not to protect yourself. Roman's gaze moved to Evelyn's face. She felt it but kept her eyes on Maggie. What will he do? Maggie leaned back. Men like Grant usually start with charm. When that fails, they try guilt. When guilt fails, they try fear. If he is clever, he will paint you as unstable. If he is desperate, he will paint you as unfaithful. Evelyn's stomach tightened. With Roman. Maggie looked between them. Yes. Roman's voice was quiet. There has been no affair. I believe you, Maggie said. The court prefers documentation. Evelyn sat straighter. What do you need timeline? Messages, financial records, proof of where you stayed last night, anything showing Grant's absence pattern. Also, from this moment forward, no private behavior that can be made to look like a secret. Heat moved up Evelyn's neck. Roman spoke before she could. Understood. Maggie looked at Evelyn. Do you want the divorce? The question was simple. The answer rose through the pain, clean and unmistakable. Yes. Maggie slid a retainer agreement across the table. Then sign here. Evelyn picked up the pen. For 1 second, she saw the wedding photo face down on the dresser. She saw Grant at the door saying he loved her. She saw the empty chair.